Big Ten. It's been my first year fully in that league as a broadcaster. Clearly, that has separated them along with the SEC from everybody else in college football, whether it's monetarily, CFP, what have you. You played in the Big Ten. I grew up in Big Ten country. I'm curious now as we enter year 2 of this expanded college football world, right, with more teams in the Big Ten, the SEC, the Big 12, the ACC, etc. I'm curious how your view on this league and what you think will happen moving forward. There's been obviously shakeup, whether it's at a place that you played at Penn State, whether it's Ohio State losing both coordinators, whether it's USC and the GM thing. I mean, there's been some legit movement going on within this league. I'm curious entering this season where your head's at right now.
Yeah. I mean, I was at Radio Row for the Super Bowl, and I was kind of like going to all these college football shows, and I went on some of the SEC shows, so I got in a bunch of heated arguments here on the SEC Big Ten.
There we go.
I think, listen, there's so many different points in this whole thing. Like, I was obviously making the case that the Big Ten's the best conference in the game, and that's just how it is. And you look at the top of the conference, especially last season, like that's the truth. Like you got Penn State, you got Ohio State, you got Indiana. Like you got these premier programs in college football that were at the very, very top. Oregon, obviously, and I think the SEC's argument is the middle and the depth, which is fair. Like the middle and the depth in the SEC is better than the Big Ten is right now. But the product the Big Ten's putting out there is really good. And I think too, you think about teams like I still think USC was a good team last season. USC had a good roster and a good team that lost a bunch of close games. Yogi, you remember that the Penn State USC game? I mean, if Penn State doesn't convert 2 4th downs in a row, it's a completely different season for USC and for Penn State. And then Penn State takes the game to overtime, kicks the field goal to win the game, or kicks the field goal to go to overtime. I forget how it played out there at the end. But, I mean, the Big Ten is a deep conference. I think the great thing, too, is you have those programs like a USC, like a Washington with Jedd Fisch that are going to get back to the premier and the elite programs in college football. USC's number 1 recruiting class in the country right now. I mean, Lincoln Riley is going to win at USC. I fully believe that. And when that happens, I mean, it will be even more top heavy at the top of the conference. So I will say this. I do think that conference realignment's far from over. I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. This isn't from an inside source. It's from nothing. It's just my feeling and my expectation, knowing the media landscape. I think the Big Ten's not done. I think the SEC is not done. I think this will continue to consolidate, and the nationalization of college football will only continue. I think I've had a couple ADs and commissioners on my podcast as well, and like the one message is like, no one's safe right now. Yeah. Everyone's looking over their shoulder constantly to see who's poaching who from what conference. So I think this thing's far from over.